my central nervous system is kind of protected and floating, and then as it goes out, it's still actually in the water. It's just like in it. Like it's just like the float is kind of more and more, it's like jello. So at the center of being, it's like very fluidically free, and then as you move to the periphery is this like gelatin effort, and they actually connect to each other. Each of the circulatory systems have this different feel to them. Like the fluidic feel is different from the gelatinous feel. The circulation, which is like passion driven, like the blood, is very directional, and it's not free, it's going in that direction. And it's like, and that's different from the central nervous system, the cerebrospinal fluid, the CSF, and that's very like detached, beyond, transcendent, free. It's not constantly flowing, it's like floating everything. Whereas the blood is kind of like moving, it's almost gyroscopic. Like once you realize that how to use the blood, the circulation system, because it's like the way to use your passion is, it's not to shut it down, because it's like a bicycle. It's like a bicycle wheel, it's circulating. And so it's not to stop it or you'll fall over. It's like a gyroscope. Like when you do a gyroscope, if you push it this way, it'll, you know, it's like weird. So that's the, you can get to the same place via the central nervous system or the cerebrospinal fluid as the blood, like CSF, like calm. It's just, I want to go there, and it's pretty chill. But like if I go somewhere with my blood, I just want to go there with my blood. At minimum, to get from here to there with the blood. And this one's just, I'll try and keep it as calm as possible from the blood. Okay, from here to closer to the camera. This is fighting as much as let's say I go with it. And I'll go back. See, it's with the blood, almost like, to move with the blood, you like absolutely need a goal. And once you do, especially where it counts in between, then you can go with the blood and it looks beautiful, but it has to be purpose. And for some reason, that lets you do this gyroscopic feel, even with basic movements, right? So here is blood contained with purpose. And so you can then be kind of formless, to where you're not passive like the cerebrospinal fluid, and you're not dynamically driven by this polarity, right? This is it never goes where you want it. goes like it's genuinely like holding a gyroscope. And then an instant that you connect it to something, the instant that it has like purpose, it kind of, you can do cool patterns with it. But with no purpose, it's kind of like the turbulence that you see in water. Like when you look in water, water's not actually still if you imagined all the molecules. So like there's so much activity in my body, like the blood moving and stuff like that. Like if I was to give myself totally over to the blood, it's like this. So this is just what's happening when people are like tweaking. This is like the bioenergetics of the human field if it's not controlled by the mind. So this is various levels of this, right? Parkinson's, like, so mental degeneration is, it kind of frees you up, right? It's because it's not this rigid. And so you'll see, like, especially me, you can have halves where it's like more mental control, more blood control, instead of a totalizing thing. And then that can lead you to be like spastic in different areas if you have like blood control, head control, blood control, head control. Right? So people that are blood controlled are creative when they are able to be on task or when they have purpose. Like that's the direction that life is flowing. It's like definitely where power comes from. It is power, it's the blood. Creatives. But also like the instant that it's on something else, it's the circulation system. And so that has this, I don't know, it's like it creates a magnetic field that the same as like, as if, imagine yourself passing through water and it creates little eddies and vortices behind you. Just look, you know, imagine you put ditrace in the water and you can see it as you go through it. So that's and it's crazy. It's just kind of like this. The water just kind of spirals. And it doesn't even ever stop, it just kind of like slows down. But it's just constantly doing this, like you were to follow the dye through the water. So as our circulation system, as the charge in the blood moves through space and time, magnetically the electrical field around you looks like that stuff. And it's pretty fast, it's faster than water even. The same way that like water's faster than you when you move through it. As charged water moves through the ether, or the space where electromagnetic fields are, those fields move even faster. And so if you give yourself over to that energy, you get kind of this movement pattern. And then when it has direction, when the water's not just at rest, like when the water's at rest, this is what it's doing. when it's connected to direction, it starts to flow. So that's why forms and sets and katas are good, because you can do it with the heart or with the blood, but since you have a form that you're supposed to stay in, like ballet, it lets you, the purpose and the form and the meaning of the form gives your heart meaning, and it directs it so that it doesn't have this like spastic stuff. And then the mind is like that component that controls everything, like where it is, but then the mind is also the water of the body. The central nervous system is like the most embodied mind of like, what's me? That's the floaty stuff, but it's really all the water is the mind. And so the mind is like, everyone thinks it's this ultra controlling, dominating thing, but it's the mind water interface. And the more pure the water, the more like mind it is, right? So most of the water in the body is cloudy, polluted, it's gelatinous, it's full of stuff. The central spinal fluid just has enough matter in it that you can kind of like see it. Because it's like real mind is like as clear as water, you can't experience it. It's like you're in it, you just can't. The more you experience true mind, the more rarefied and it goes away, right? So the central cerebral spinal fluid isn't so full of stuff that you can't possibly believe that it's mind floating in it and around it and inside of it, like underwater, in mind, like really deeply in mind, in your mind. It's hard to believe that that's mind when it's like out in the limbs or with all the stuff, but when it's in the central nervous system, it's like mind, but it's still got some stuff dissolved in it. So that's mind. And you can use the stuff that's dissolved in it because it's so rare that it's not that big of a leap to go like, oh, I'm actually the water. I'm actually this thing that I can't see. Like once you can start to feel your cerebrospinal fluid and the calmness and the peace of it, free from the circulatory system, and then that's pretty easy to see actually. And then it's just like a little bit of belief, and it's like, oh, it's actually the water, which is like, even though the water's full of stuff, it's still water. Or even though the water, I can't feel it or see it, you know, you're as much there as you are anywhere in your mind, right? Once you, like, you can start to see that you're as much there as you are anywhere in your mind. Not just the cerebrospinal fluid. It's also all the other fluid that's actually enveloping all the perception, right? So from that space, the mind isn't like this ego dominating, programming, control matrix thing. That's what it's like. It's the nervous system is a computer. Who uses the computer? The water. Right? So if you forget about the water and it's a computer, the computer's definitely just it's just coded. It definitely just does programs. Who is it coded by though? Bingo. So it definitely reflects your personality. Or lack thereof. And so to be honest, both of those things are somewhat uninteresting. Like, I think they need to be high functioning. Good mind, both in terms of self-control, and good mind both in terms of like liberation, but I like don't. gets you right to where like almost warmed up, like probably stop talking, but like thinking through that faster and faster and faster, and then you should get to where you're not separate from anything, and then move from that, like in a sport specific pattern, whatever your thing is, right? It might be. So ideally this whole video should only take like 5 or 10 minutes, a little bit of just like set the thing, and then just do the normal, you know, warm up that it's popular to do for your sport at the moment. But yeah, so that you just strengthen the nervous system first, and then, which is just sort of allowing, and the same thing with the heart. You just sort of allow it to do what it's going to do. Like the only reason I'm moving this way is because I'm like, it's. I might want to just go that way, but if the heart is doing this, like I can't help it. Other than to so it's not like one is more or less authentic.